Deploying a FastMCP server, but need a simple way to monitor its status. We'll add a dedicated health check endpoint using FastMCP's custom route decorator. This creates a standard HTTP route that monitoring systems can query, while keeping your MCP tool endpoints separate under /MCP/. The example uses JSONResponse for structured status data, though you could also return PlainTextResponse for simpler checks. All custom routes share the same web server as your MCP endpoints, making them ideal for health checks, status pages, or simple APIs alongside your main functionality. For more complex applications, you can also mount the entire MCP server into FastAPI or Starlet applications. From Starlet, responses import JSON response. At MCP, custom route/health, methods equals get. Async def health check request. Return JSON response status, healthy service, MCP server. This demonstrates the custom route pattern for adding standard HTTP endpoints to FastMCP servers. The technique lets you expose additional web routes like health checks or status pages alongside your MCP tool endpoints, using the same underlying ASGI server. The key aspect is how it keeps monitoring and application logic separate while sharing the same deployment infrastructure. The pattern works by registering async functions as custom routes through the @MCP custom route decorator. These endpoints receive the HTTP request object and can return either JSON response for structured data or plain text response for simple status checks. All custom routes become available at their specified paths, while MCP tool endpoints remain under the dedicated /MCP/path, maintaining clean separation between different types of endpoints. This approach matters because production deployments need observable services that integrate with monitoring systems. By including health checks directly in your server, you eliminate the need for external monitoring tools while keeping your architecture simple. The pattern works equally well for standalone MCP servers or when mounting MCP into larger applications, making it practical for both simple deployments and complex microservice environments. Let's break it down line by line. From Starlet, responses import JSON response. Imports JSON response from Starlet to return properly formatted JSON responses with correct content type headers. This enables structured health check endpoints that return machine-readable status information, while plain text response remains common for simple OK responses in monitoring systems. All custom routes share the same ASGI web server as MCP endpoints, allowing unified deployment for both tool and HTTP functionality. At MCP, custom route/health, methods equals get. Async def health check request. This creates a custom HTTP endpoint at health using FastMCP's route decorator, separate from MCP tool endpoints that live under /MCP/. The async function handles GET requests with non-blocking I/O and returns a JSON response with service status, though plain text response is equally valid for simple health checks. All custom routes share the same web server as MCP endpoints, making this ideal for health checks, status pages, or lightweight APIs alongside your AI tools. Return JSON response status, healthy service, MCP server. Returns a JSON formatted health check response using Starlet's JSON response, implementing the standard operational endpoint pattern. Custom routes like this handle HTTP traffic at the domain root, while MCP tool endpoints remain under /MCP/, all served by the same ASGI server. For simple checks, you could alternatively use plain text response with a 200 status code. Custom HTTP endpoints. The @MCP custom route decorator lets you add traditional web endpoints to FastMCP servers, perfect for health checks, status pages, or simple APIs alongside your MCP tools. All custom routes share the same web server as your MCP endpoint, with routes served from the domain root, while MCP tools remain under /MCP/. For simple health checks, you can return plain text response. Okay, but structured monitoring data works best with JSONResponse, as shown in the example.
The endpoint that serves, nothing becomes the server that serves everything.